Please join us on the next Hairball Unscripted, where we get to talk with Kris and Billy of Hairball. They tell you all about their history, about how they became musicians, the bands and artists that they love, and they answer your questions. So please, this is an episode that you don't want to miss. Welcome, all you Hairball fans, and welcome to another episode of Hairball Unscripted. This is number 3, and today we are joined by Billy and Kris. So for all of you that don't know the different members, we're trying to give everybody a chance to get to know all of them a little bit better. We've got a bunch of fan questions today that we printed out from our Facebook page. So if you have questions in the future for future episodes, please keep an eye out. I always post the day or the day before asking for questions for specific members. So please be aware of that. We want to read your questions. We want you involved. So always feel free. And then also too, we're going to give you some homework today. Please feel free to leave your comments on the Facebook feed or on YouTube. Right now, those are the two easiest platforms for us to monitor so that people can get back to you and answer the questions that you have. So gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. Nice to be
here.
Hi,
Tommy.
Hey, so, you guys are on the verge of sheer insanity now. Moving into summer. For those of you that don't know, the Hairball machine really gets cranking mid-May and goes all the way in through the fall. I would love to know from each one of you a little bit of history. So Billy, let's start with you. Being the drummer, what got you started in music and what drew you to the drums?
Wow, okay. We're going to the beginning.
Yeah, because people want to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a musical family, in that all my siblings, I got 2 sisters and a younger brother, they all play instruments, and my dad sings, and my mom didn't sing professionally, but she could sing. And so, it was just always, music was always around all the time growing up. And all the way to my older sisters having Rush records or like playing me Van Halen 1 the first time I heard Eruption on the turntable in my sister's bedroom was just like, got me excited. And that's when prior to that was all my parents' old country records and AM radio, growing up on AM radio stuff and whatnot. So they got me going on some different paths early on. And I don't know, I've always been a music person, but as far as picking drums, 5th grade, I played the violin, and then 6th grade, they offered all those other instruments, and drums looked pretty fun, and everyone wanted to play the drums, but I was lucky enough to be able to do that, and started on the snare drum, got a drum kit in junior high, and for $10, and that was my beginning, and I don't know, and here I am.
Well, so have you always, were drums always the number one instrument for you once you started doing that, or did you delve into guitar and all the other stuff as well?
Oh yeah, no, guitar was a thing, and I almost became a guitar player, and then or wanted to anyways. That was a temporary dream of mine because I'm way into guitar, still am. I love guitar players and guitarists and guitars. I'm a guitar geek as well, on top of the drum geekery. So, all the instruments I can, I can play the bass, play the guitar, play some keys. I had piano lessons just like all, my siblings and I. So, so I can usually pick up an instrument and figure something out on it. And so I don't know, just I'm a music oriented person from the get-go.
I think that's really cool. And it seems like so many of you guys are not only great musicians with the instrument of choice, but you can play other things as well. So Kris, I'm going to ask you the same question. Take us back to the childhood. Where did it start for you?
$10 for that drum set. That was a deal. What kind of
Yep.
kit was that?
Yeah. Yeah. The
No,
Pearl. It was at the church bazaar. Picked it up.
so
My friend. Sorry. Go ahead.
that's okay. That's okay.
It's a good story
I-
there. My friend
well,
bought it for $5. I bought it from him for $10. So yeah,
that's a
here
good
we are.
deal.
It
Well,
is.
my story's kind of similar. I didn't have a musical family per se, but my parents were music fans. They had a uh, cool old Kenwood amp and a separate receiver and a turntable, and they had a whole bunch of records. And I think I started
8-track.
playing. They had an
You have
8-track too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Good.
They didn't have many tapes though, mostly records. So, and they let me start playing records. I was probably in the maybe first or second grade. I was given my own albums by the time I think I started buying some Kiss records by the time I was in third grade, and then my mom's friends would give me really cool albums for Christmas or my birthday. I remember they gave me Journey Escape when it came out, and Paradise Theater, and my parents had all the cool old records like the Beatles and the Stones and Clapton. Foreigner was a big one they had. I was like, oh, this is cool. So as a kid, you're singing with the hairbrush in front of the mirror. As I got older, I ended up playing drums. That was my first instrument.
And a lot of people don't know that you actually play drums.
Yeah, I have done that in
But they
bands
do
and
think
everything.
you're a drummer. But that's another story.
Yeah.
Not anymore per se. It's not my. I'm not. Maybe when I was, until I was in my, I don't know, 20s or something, I started singing more. But yeah, I had that first drum kit too when I was like 13. Mine was an old, crappy old Ludwig set, black, little 5-piece. And I played drums just all the time and through high school. That was my thing. I didn't start singing until I was probably about 19 as just a singer. And it just went from there. And then I learned how to play guitar. And I found that was that was a better utility instrument as a singer. It's easier to play guitar and sing than have to lug around a drum set and.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is because I've
But
watched the
go ahead.
setups. No, you please finish.
Well, I forgot my joke. I was supposed to start this whole thing with the joke is that I'm supposed to be the drummer of the band because normally
That's what I was
people think
alluding to.
people think I'm the drummer.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it's,
but that's an interesting thing that you say because, well, first off, Billy doesn't change, just like Happy or HBK. So people staring at you for 2 hours, when they see you, they're going to know who you are for the most part. But with the singers, I mean, you guys are all so good at representing whoever it is that you're portraying that there's a lot of people who are really confused. They think there's like 6 singers in the band when in reality there's only 3. So that's a compliment.
yeah. Well, sometimes they think there's only 1 or 2 singers. I think people get distracted with the lights and the smoke and the costumes and everything. And once I come off stage and I'm not in a costume anymore and I'm just in my street clothes, they just, well, he looks the closest thing he looks to is the drummer, so we'll just go with it. You know what I mean?
Or they tap you on the shoulder and want to know where Happy is.
Yeah.
People. So, all right, I got a drum geek question for you, Billy, because a lot of people that are fans of yours aren't musicians, but they're fascinated by that shiny kit. So you have this big, beautiful drum kit, and will you please tell the fans why is it set up the way it's set up? Why do you have the kit that you have? And the reason, what I'm getting at here is look at Neil Peart, and then you could look at Ringo. Completely different drummers, completely different bands, but they're both functioning drummers. So how do you find that sweet spot, and why do you have what you have?
Here's the funny answer is that the kit is what it is because it's what I got. And it doesn't really answer the question properly, but let's say, all right, I got hired to be in Hairball. Where am I going to find an over the top big drum set? Blake always had a
Yeah.
massive kit too. So, something to live up to there. But it's just because it's just an over the top thing. So, where are you going to find a monster kit on a fairly short notice? And there just happened to be this kit at this store, that drum shop that isn't around anymore, that I used to teach at. Sat there for months, and it's that kit, and it's the kitchen sink kit. It's got everything.
Okay.
And I go, well, that's probably the kit. It's not the finish that I want, that it should have, but it's all the components. It's the rack and the hardware and the cases, and it was the whole thing minus cymbals and everything. And so that was sort of like, well, I guess this was supposed to happen. And so that's what I got. And the configuration is just, well, that's just the way, I don't know, the way to set it up to,
Play
it's a
everybody.
mix. Yes, but it's a mix of, I guess it's a mix of a couple of my influences as well, where I would say it's part Tommy Aldridge configuration with a little more like some Neil Peart kind of range up top. It's a mix of my influences, but laid out in a way that is a logical way. And so I can play all the music that we play as well. It makes sense for me in terms of way the kit is laid out, what to access where and what to do what. It just makes sense,
Okay, so if you were going to change the finish, what would you have done differently?
Well, we did it. It's chrome.
Yeah.
We did
it didn't before.
Yes, the original
Okay.
finish on it is like a pearlescent cream colored off-white, it's beautiful finish, and with a gold sparkle inlay. It's a beautiful drum, but it just wasn't kind of the rock look that was kind of being promoted, and just like chrome is more badass.
Yeah.
And so uh Randy helped me wrap this kit, and we got the chrome wrap. It's a vinyl wrap, and took off all the lugs, took the whole kit apart all the way down, wrapped it, put everything back on, and that's the kit. And it's been going for 7, going to 8 years. It's pretty scratched up. It's patinaed nicely now. The chrome is starting to pit. It's starting to age in the ways that you don't want, but so it's starting to reach its end. I will introduce a new kit soon. I was gonna do it.
Ah,
I was gonna do it by now, but I am taking the time to do it right, and it's taking a little longer than normal, and it's a big project to undertake. That's, for some reason, it's harder than the kit that I have now. It's just because here's my pieces, and this is just was logical to me at the time, given what I have. So the new kit will be based on the old kit. It's going to be a different finish, and it's going to be fun and badass and all that. Can't wait. But I'm taking my time doing it because I've had a lot of other things going on in life.
well,
And
something that people will look forward to this year is the introduction of a new drum kit, which will change
yeah,
the look of the stage as well a little bit.
yep, yep. And I think we'll probably do it in a way where it does coincide with other stage changes,
Okay.
visually or whatnot. It probably will work with that in some ways. We have to consider that anyways. I mean, I might put a damn gong up on that kit. That could be fun. So,
That
but
could be
how's
the
that?
light on fire.
You're okay. You're getting ahead of me. Don't giving away.
Goggles.
It's all
Put
out there,
goggles
man.
on.
So I have to practice that here at home in my backyard for a while, so I can bring it to the stage or something.
Well, of course, yeah. You want to you
Right?
want to you want to stay safe. That's important.
Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. Well, okay. So Kris, now I want to ask you something. This is something I've wondered about for quite some time. Is if someone steps out of the moment, and Billy, the same for you as well. Um, if someone steps out of the moment of being at the concert and they actually really pay attention to what both of you, all of you guys are doing, one of the things that's very much impressed me with your vocal performance, Kris, is your ability to, how do I say this, nail that performer. And the first one that comes to mind is Prince. I've been listening to Prince as have you guys since we're teenagers. and he has this certain vocal style, these small little nuances. It's the same thing with the playing of the drums with these different parts. How are you able to recreate that at such an impressive level?
Well,
I know that's hard for you to hear or
no, I mean,
answer, but
I
that's the
certainly have,
reality.
you know, you just try and pick out some things that, that are imitatable. I mean, if I had to try and pretend to be Prince for a whole show, it would be brutal. Fortunately, I get to do it for like, 3 to 6 minutes, and it's much more forgiving, I feel like. So, I think, it's two parts. I think, you just attention to detail, like, trying to sound like somebody, you just kind of have to sort of shape your voice that way. At the same time, fortunately, we have such small doses. It's great for the short attention span, and people have all the lights and the screens and the other musicians going, and it's just, a synergy. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's partly magic and partly, me just, putting in the time to try and sound like people. And, but all the glitz and glamour certainly helps deliver the product,
Well, so then how do each one of you approach? Let's say I came to you today and I said, "Hey guys, we're gonna add Warrant, or we're gonna add whomever that you hadn't done before. And here are
Yeah.
2 songs or 3 songs." What is your process? Show people or tell people how you start that process. So you've got 3 songs that you may or may not be familiar with that you have to learn to do. How do you go through this to get ready for it?
Well, I don't know if there's too many 80s hits that we're still unfamiliar with, but I would say, we would first of all pick the singer that's going to be closest to sound like, Janie Lane, I guess. Um, which could certainly be me. If we're going to do Brian Johnson, it's not going to be me. That'll be
Right.
Dave Moody. So first, try and pick the singer should always pick things that they can represent, and then just listen to it. I mean, like the Janie Lane stuff, I like a lot, and I get where he's coming from. There's certain guys that the ones that are harder for me would be like, Def Leppard's a little tougher because it's so scratchy. Those ones are a little bit out of my natural singing voice. Like the Queen is closer to a natural voice for me. Loverboy is a good natural voice for me where I'm not trying to really change my voice. Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, those are ones where I'm definitely, even Kiss, I'll try and, put the Paul Stanley skank on there,
You got to. So
Now
Billy,
that's
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Well, to Tom's point, it's just the ability to imitate, and that's essentially what it is. And how deep what intricacies can you pick up on it? And so whether it's me picking up the drum parts, I'm gonna listen to it and find what it needs, sound wise, vibe wise, all that, get it up in here and go do it.
But
And
I guess do you slow it down, Billy, and listen to every part, or you just listen to it over and over? You start playing along with it till you're comfortable. How do you get to that
yeah,
comfort level?
yeah. Learning songs. Funny, I was just going through this with my neighbor. My neighbor is a drummer, and he's learning songs, and we kind of going through this process with him. So to share with you folks, to learn songs and stuff like that is, I mean, there's different layers to it, but obviously you just listen to it, listen to it, listen to it, internalize it. But what does that mean? Listen to it over and over to the point where,
You're sick of
um,
it.
well, right, but it's like, so the first
Really?
layer is knowing the song form. How's the song front to back? Where are you going where? Where's the form of the song? Know that. Then for me, what I try and do then, once that I know that then it's the minutia of the fills, the groove, what's the kick pattern in this part of the song, this, and just you memorize it. And then you just,
Yeah.
that's it. And some people do things by way of charts. Some people, have their methods. For Kris to do what he does is a certain, I mean, you don't have to chart nothing. You watch, you listen, you do what that person does, you practice it and imitate, you get it down and you present it. I do that on my instrument in the same way, where it's like I'm just going to try and pay attention to detail as much as I can. Listen to, he only hits that part. Okay, this and that, and you get it all in your head, you just go out and do it.
Do
That's
you
it. So
do you ever run across a song that sounds so eerily familiar to another one it gets confusing?
Mm.
I don't
No.
know. Not really. Not
Okay.
really. Um, you know, a song is a song.
Well, the reason I ask is that they say that so many songs all musicians steal from other musicians, and that's why I
Oh
was
yeah.
wondering. Yeah, you know what I'm
Well,
saying? If
how?
there's,
Oh
I
yeah.
know there's
It's.
commonality, but
I think what Chris and I are good at too, and everyone in the band's good at is it's. I mean, that's how you learn your instrument too, is through listening and like copying parts, and like that's how you learn your vocabulary in the instrument. Now, if you're gonna do something with that and find your own voice, that's awesome. What we do is a show, so it's more tailored towards, you know, I think our strengths are, I was kind of built for something like this and that. I'm really parts and oriented, song oriented, and then that's what I do. And all I have to do is be consistent night to night, show to
yeah,
show.
yeah,
It's what it is. It's just different than an original artist, but at the same time, if you're still playing someone's song that they wrote and interpreting and whatnot. There's artistic interpretation, but this is a more of a replication gig,
right.
and so there's an art to that as well. How deep can you go with it, and how much detail can you uh, make it so when you see that or hear it or whatever, you go, yeah, no, that's it.
Right.
Or that's not almost it, or that's kind of it. We try and aim for it as best as we can. So
And I think that's what's, at least from my perspective, and seeing Hairball for 25 years, that's one of the things I've always felt that has put you guys a step or two above so many other bands. And the reason I say that is that I get tired of hearing the same songs over and over again when I go out to these different clubs and see these different bands. And what I realized is that it's not the song, it's the way they're performing it. You guys have a level of professionalism where you perform these songs like you own them. And I noticed that when I went to the Def Leppard show last summer. I'm like, I don't hate Pour Some Sugar on Me. It's just very few bands can cover it the right way. So that, I think, is part of what you're saying too, is that it's not kind of, it is, because you dedicate the time to make it be the best that it can be.
Mhm.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was really interesting is a few weeks ago, for any of you that didn't see this, I did a quick video with each one of the guys asking them what, one of their favorite perfect records are. And everyone gave a different answer. The only one that was obvious was Happy, because like he's not going to choose a Van Halen record, which there's nothing wrong with that because I love that record too. But I was very intrigued by both of your answers, more so than anyone else, because I had already had a preconceived notion about what I thought you would choose, and I was completely wrong. So, Billy, you said Back in Black.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I was surprised by that is I really expected you to say Rush, or I expected you to say a band or an artist that I wasn't familiar with that maybe was jazz or whatever.
Yeah, and that's because the question wasn't what's your favorite record.
Right.
It's not that. What's a perfect record? It doesn't have to even be something I even like, but I can recognize that it's whatever. But obviously, I mean, I love Back in Black. It's a more of a testament, a statement to this the consistency of the piece of work where there is not any weakness in it. It's like this cohesive piece of art that is, I mean, it's perfect. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But the thing is, just a cohesive, and putting an album together, album rock, that's why I picked that one.
Well, yeah, and it's a great answer. Like I said, I was surprised. I really thought you were going to say Rush or something like that because you're a
Yeah.
drummer, which is stupid for me to think that way. And then Chris, yours surprised me even more because you chose Jeff Beck. And I actually went out and bought the record. I actually really enjoy it. It's not my style, but I liked it. But I was so thrown off. I thought for sure you were going to say, I don't know what I thought you were going to say, but again, it's interesting to me because you all like so much different types of music, which I also think maybe adds to the dynamics of the band, because you're not all just like, oh, Iron Maiden. It's like, no, there's more to this world than heavy metal, or there's more to this world than the stuff that you guys play.
There wasn't when I was 16. There was only heavy metal.
Right.
So as you get older, you kind of, you find some other music you like.
Yeah.
Well, that music that coincides with us learning our instruments and all that kind of stuff too. That's just sort of how we got into playing during that time too. Was that music?
So then, as a drummer, then Billy, give me 3 different names of drummers that you have massive respect for. I know there's probably a list of 100, but if you had to pick 3 that really intrigue you by the way they play, who would those be?
Well, intrigued, but or just maybe just influenced by, or just
however you want to answer the question.
So many phases, so many different. I mean, again, to your point, there's too many. I always have traditionally just stated, like, if I were to go, Bonham, Ringo, Charlie Watts, like they're kind of a big 3 of kind of British rock drumming. That's sort of like a core spot, but I'm way more esoteric stuff, or like, I love prog rock. So if I were to say Phil Collins and Bill Bruford is a total, and Neil Peart, obviously. Neil, I mean, I was air drumming Neil when I was 10 years old. Before I even had a kit, I knew those dang Tom Phil things were exciting as hell. It just got me. So I mean, super early with that, but getting into listening into music and stuff like that, and like post high school, and really kind of exploring different things, it goes all over the place into jazz drummers and all that kind of stuff, different genres of stuff. It's 3 is tough, but that's sort of a core 3 that I kind of always come back to. That's a simple answer.
It's really interesting that you chose Ringo and Charlie Watts, because there's a ton of people who love both of them individually for different reasons. But sometimes when you ask drummers that, they're not going to be on the list. It's going to be somebody else. Bonham always seems to be on the list for almost any rock drummer because of everything that he did.
Of course, he was groundbreaking in many ways, and people still strive to kind of go for that thing that, and you can just do takes on it, and all it is it's part, well, whatever. There's a lot of things that make that what that is, and a lot of people have misconceptions of how to get there to do that. But space between notes, I don't know. That's a big thing that I could, throw out there as far as what makes a good drummer. So, anyways.
Fair enough. And Kris, I don't care, to me, either singers or guitar players or combination of both. Give me 3 that you really love.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm saying like singers that are in sort of my vein of how I sing. My favorites were, Steve Walsh, Kansas, you got your Joe Lynn Turner's got, I always loved Joe Lynn Turner. He's just got a dynamite voice.
Yeah.
And like well, shit, I probably should have said Lou Graham's in there. He's one of my top 5. And my Bad Company guy, of course, too. You gotta throw some Paul Rogers in there. But those guys are all just soulful, high mid tenor rock singers that I love. And Lou Graham was a big influence when I grew up. My parents had those Foreigner albums, so.
Well, they were all over the radio.
And guitar players, singers, there's a bunch of great ones. I'm a big Manichetti fan, of Y&T. There's a fun guitar player, singer. But I don't consider myself a guitar player. I'm a utility player, pretty much. So those are this is the favorite top 5 worst singers too. You can throw in your David Lee Roth and your Udo Dirkschneiders or whatever. Were like some of my favorite singers in the whole wide world, but they're not
non-singer singers.
Like there's.
But Dave's got the vibe, man.
Oh, he's magic. It was magic. Those first 6 albums were just magic.
I totally agree. And that's one of those things, like when we talk about it on Three Sides, growing up as fans of whoever you're speaking of, whether it be Kiss or Van Halen, if the younger people who are listening weren't there, it's very, very hard for them to understand, or it's hard, at least from my perspective, to try to explain to them why that was magic. Because now when you see it on YouTube, it's not the same as
Charisma.
being in it.
Just there's charisma in that,
Yeah.
that we don't see as much of, or we see it in a different way nowadays. But back then, yeah, he drew upon a lot of really like old, Cab Calloway type Louis Prima stuff. That kids don't have no idea who they are. So yeah,
And
why is this
that's what
guy
made
this
it.
way? Well, they have no idea who those people are. So
Who's Jim Dandy?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, but here's the
Why
thing.
Jim Dandy?
Yeah, go Jim Dandy. But that's why I
Yeah.
ask you these questions, guys, because there are people who care and will now go, all right, I'm going to check out some of these different artists because you're influenced by them. And I think that's where your music grows, because I want to know if you would agree with this statement. It was cooler when we were kids in the 70s than if I was a kid right now, with regards to the variety of music. Even though it's more accessible, it seemed so much different when we were young, where you could go to a store and you'd buy Smoke on the Water on a 45, but then you could also buy a Carpenter's record. And you never thought, at least I didn't, of whether one band was metal and the other one wasn't. You just bought the song because you liked the song. And some of that's changed now because people get so locked in to one genre of music.
I think that people get confused with genres of music sometimes, but there's a lot of genre blending
Yes,
nowadays. So
yes, that's true.
lines are blurred, and so it's whatever people's dislike. Everyone can say what they like and dislike all they like, but it doesn't really matter. If someone likes it, it serves a purpose,
Yep.
and it should has a reason to exist. For people to have any hatred for any other kind of thing, or kind of speak in those terms, it's just not really, it's not, it's useless kind of stuff.
Well,
So
I see a lot of bands, as you know, every year, and I see a lot of bands I've never seen before. And I feel like, okay, if you're up on stage and you're performing and you've got fans out in the audience, there's something about you that they like. So I'm always looking to find what is that? What is that component or piece that people are attracted to? And sometimes I think you just have to be open-minded, because you might be really surprised at what you will find to be interesting that you would have never thought of before had you not given it a chance.
of course, yeah,
You
I
know?
still to this day fall. I go back on things that I wasn't into 20 years ago, or like I would never, like I wasn't really into whoever, and then now I'm like discovering them now
Right.
years later, and I'm just like finding artists that were I kind of thought, just didn't think anything of, and going, wow, they were fucking brilliant, whoever this I'm talking about. But it's like that kind of stuff happens, but it's maintaining an open mind. Today's music is just, it's a different thing. It has a different set of elements, or just like a way vastly reduced set of elements of music that I like and grew up with. Today's music is just a different thing.
Nobody's
Getting back to what
developing.
it
Nobody's
is.
nobody's taking 3 albums to develop an artist anymore. The music
No,
industry just
it's
isn't
Yeah,
doing that.
yeah, yeah. It's such a completely different thing now. So at least it's kind of fun for us to be able to do this, what we do. It's and just sort of this old-fashioned delivery system of music, of playing it in a fun, bombastic way, throwing it in your face. And you know it's kind of obvious why this thing is succeeding. And there's definitely enough people here that kind of long for this music still, but there's not many outlets to see it anymore. And at least we have a delivery system that's fun. And to what Chris was saying, it's just short attention span too. It's like it's always moving, changing. It's a fun thing. So it's a super fun thing to be a part of, and fun thing to
It's a
do.
good
So
product.
well, and it's got to feel good when you're playing these places and you look out in the audience, you see so many people smiling and singing along and literally having the great time in the same manner in which we would have going to see shows growing up. That's got to feel great.
always, well, it's
It
what
does.
keeps you. Yeah, I mean, it's what keeps you going, keeps it fun. I mean, obviously people stop showing up. It's not going to be as fun. So
No.
yes,
Yeah.
it's great that it's great that people, right. So it's great that it's fun to see it too. When we play new places, when I watching it unfold in in front of me, it's every night it's the same picture and it's fun to watch. You see someone and they get, oh, look at that, and then another artist, oh, look at that, and then they kind of really get it, and then they're by the end of the night they're hooked, and that's a fun thing. So that's why it just keeps growing. So it's I'm really glad that we're still hitting new markets and that we're still after all these years, it's hitting new places and it's growing every year. It's a pretty
Well,
neat little thing.
look at Fremont Street. Holy shit, you guys, that was a crowd.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good crowd.
That was
And
really
Ironically, I can't see anything past the front row because I
Yeah.
don't wear any glasses or contacts, which is my
Yeah.
secret power because I feel better not being able to see people's faces so they can't distract me with whatever they're doing.
Fair enough.
Weird, right? But yeah, I totally I love, just seeing the crowd, and it's inspiring that people still want to come and see us. I mean, it's it's a pretty great job. I'm always grateful I get to do it every day. That I know what the alternative is, and it's a hustle out there trying to make a living playing music.
Yeah.
So to have a band that's successful like this and is continuing to be successful after 20 some years is really a rarity in our business. So
It really
Yes.
is, and that speaks to the professionalism. I have a bunch of questions, so let's go through these.
all right.
The first one's from our friend Jay Wells, and this is for both
Hi,
of you.
Jay.
to answer. Hey, Jay.
Hello,
Huh?
Jay.
Time Machine.
Time Machine. Yes, he
Mhm.
plays in Time Machine. Guys, check them out. They're great. They're local, but they don't play a ton of shows, so you got to get on the Facebook page. What's your favorite part of travel these days?
Oh, my Xbox and my bunk for sure.
Billy?
Oh boy.
That's not really my favorite, but go ahead.
Favorite thing?
Within reason of what you can say.
I like those opportunities that I will get sometimes to be able to explore whatever town, city that we're in. Any of that kind of stuff built into what we're doing is a blessing. So I would say that.
Okay. This question comes from Bert Huntsman, and this is for Kris. Who picks your characters and the tracks?
Well, we're obviously picking songs that are all 80s hair band hits, so they're not making any new ones of those. So we're kind of, you have a limited selection. And then whatever we think that will have a good impact as far as visually. I mean, there's we've been talking about the Scorpions for a while, which I think is a great one. It's just a little tougher, how do you know, imagine Klaus Meine or whatever. So it really just comes down to what we can sing and what will have a visual impact that's going to, not be boring. You know what I mean? I can't be a shirts and jeans or a shirt and jeans kind of guy. It has to be something that's visually outspoken. So
Okay. Dusty Crutchton would like to know, Billy, when do we get to see the drum sets go up like the Kiss set? He wants your drums on risers.
Right. I am not the person to answer that question. That goes up into higher up the chain, so to speak, and to when a budget comes together and some people get the idea and we get room in the semi and we get all these things that can happen to happen, then it will happen.
But you'd be down for something also extra.
I would do something like that. I don't need to put the kid on a roller coaster. I don't need to tip upside down or like that kind of
Side
stuff.
side.
I don't need to ride a tilt-a-whirl. Those things have all been done as well. But
Yes.
that kit that I'm playing to put it on that is I don't know if I think maybe it's not smart would be the thing.
Could be
Maybe
problematic.
Yeah, I'm not good with amusement park rides either, so it has to be gentle. Gonna have to be a gentle ride. But yeah, if there's something like if I'm flying over the crowd or something, maybe we can like do like a drone, like drum set drone. I could actually fly around the venue. I want to, if I'm going to do it, I want to be the first.
Right.
I don't
Oh,
want
of
to be, I don't
course.
want, I don't want to be the third to do it. So
Well, tell Chainsaw to start working on that.
yeah, okay.
This question's for both of you. Penelope Caprillion wants to know, what is the most off the wall band that you guys like to listen to?
We both like Mr. Bungle,
Yeah, I was just thinking about Mr. Bungle.
but just as a random, yeah, I'm sure there's probably plenty of choices, but that one comes to
That's a
mind.
strange one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of different stuff for me. So I mean, that's throwing answers, whatever. I don't know.
Well, and,
Listen,
and your answer can change tomorrow. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. Yeah, it's because one day you're going to like this, the next day something else is going to be important to you.
yep.
Sam Ferguson would like to know for both of you, if you could pick a song that doesn't really fit with Hairball to do live, what would it be if you could perform that song?
Oh, there's so many.
Are you saying like what would we want to
Yeah, that's my understanding. Is
perform
like Sam's asking you, like if you could add a song to the set of Hairball that
that
doesn't
doesn't
really
fit?
fit, what would it be? Because you just love that song so much.
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
Uh,
you got some good fans. They got some good questions.
I mean, again, that's like, boy, it gets the brain spinning a little. How do you boil it down to one thing? What would that be?
I can think
It
of
doesn't
a million
fit.
songs I'd like to play that we don't play in Hairball because, well, we don't play them in Hairball, so they're always fun to play if we don't, I don't have to play them
Right.
for a living.
Well, like I
Chris,
thought doing the Rush song was kind of out there a little bit because even though they were 80s and the same people that love Rush also love a lot of the metal stuff that you guys do, but that was kind of unique,
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a song. It's a song. If you song most people have heard,
And Brian
you know,
killed it
they're
on the
gonna like.
vocals. It was great.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he's great. Yeah. No, those first lines when he sings it every time, it gets me. I'm like, that's it's right in there. Got the right range for it. So
I was shocked. I did not know. Well, so if you had to pick one though, what would you love to add?
Death Alley Driver by Rainbow.
yeah, that's a
Oh,
good one
nice.
too.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
It still
That's
kind
up
of fits,
right
but it
between
doesn't
the eyes.
fit.
Is that between
You
the
can-
right between the eyes?
Yeah, straight between the eyes.
Yeah, straight between the eyes.
Yeah.
I would do uh something by Yes or Genesis. I don't know which
Oh,
song,
yeah,
but
that'd be
something
good
like
too.
that. Yeah.
Peter
And just
Gabriel Genesis or
Yeah, I was just gonna say early.
could be something off Broadway would be great. Yeah, I would do that.
People seems like a lot of Genesis fans, Lamb Lays Down on Broadway seems to be their go-to favorite album by them.
It's a sweet spot album for them. It's the last Peter Gabriel album.
yeah.
But it's a sweet spot, and yeah, there's some. Yeah, it's a classic. I think there's like an anniversary edition coming out this summer that's supposed to be
Oh yeah, they seem to be
pretty cool.
re-releasing everything.
Yeah.
This one is for Billy, and it's from Bill Just Mr. Bill. You've played in some of the greatest Minnesota bands ever. I've enjoyed watching you play over the years. Who would you say has had the biggest impact on you?
Mhm. A very influential person in my life, important person who's helped me. I would say is that my friend Paul D-Town, stretch rocker. He's a guitar player that I kind of grew up with in a sense where he was in college, but I was in junior high and high school. And he worked at the local music store that I eventually got to work at as well. And I don't know, he helped guide my young musical uh, brain and influenced me in a lot of ways and helped me he got my foot in the door for the Johnny gig too. So
Oh, he did. Okay.
yep. And so, that's for both of us was, such a huge an amazing part of our lives. So So he's just one of my best buddies that and just one of the most special people that I know in many ways. So my friend Paul. Shout out
Okay.
to Paul.
All right, Paul. Thank you for helping Billy out. Um, this one's for Kris. If you covered any band from the 90s, who do you think would make the cut if you could add one?
For Hairball?
Yeah.
Well, I'd never be able to. We probably could never do the character, but like maybe Lenny Kravitz or something, or
Okay.
Rob Zombie. I don't know. Maybe those are kind of caricature type people. I mean, is this something we're trying to squeeze into the Hairball format? Is that what he's asking?
That's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, both those bands are kind of cool.
We would do those big, any of the grunges. If we had a '90s version, right? You would Alice and Soundgarden and maybe
Learn how to play
Nirvana or
guitar
whatever.
backwards. Be
You know,
Kurt Cobain.
But you could also add, say, Buck Cherry. I mean, they're also a 90s band. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Seattle piece. I don't know.
Sure. If
I just started thinking of something that's like loud image wise, And,
yeah.
Right. It's got that visual.
The 90s, they weren't quite as into the whole crazy,
Right.
Yeah.
Slipknot. Yeah, Slipknot.
Slipknot.
The past.
There you go. Yep. Put on a costume or look like a drug addict. That's all you have to do.
Either way, you'd win. Billy, this one's for you from Glenn Ebling. And he wants to know, what kind of kick pedals do you use? And if you ever decide to retire from Hairball, I would love an opportunity to audition. You have the best job ever.
Well, thank you. I play DW 9000s, Drum Workshop 9000 pedals.
And any particular reason?
Because they're the best.
I thought Pearl drums and guitars were the best.
No, I mean, right. There is no best anything.
Right.
Those are my favorites. They're butter. They're fast. They're smooth. They're awesome. They're durable. They're just everything that a professional drum pedal should be. They're awesome. So, at the 5000s are great. I love those as well, but I go 9000 just because they're 4000 better.
Fair enough.
4,000 more now, aren't they?
Hey, It's bigger. This one's more of a statement to Kris than it is a question. And I know, Kris, you'll probably forget this in 10 minutes because I will.
Someone's telling you.
Michelle Boyling wants to know if you end up back at Fort Randall Casino, wherever that is, please play Prince. I love Hairball. You guys are simply amazing. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Try to remember Prince.
Prince is kind of coming into the rotation a little more regularly. That was kind of out a lot last year. We were kind of doing different stuff. So I see Prince making a little bit more of a comeback for 2025 in our list. Maybe some new songs by him too.
Yeah, Fort Randall.
We have a couple ideas.
Fort Randall, what, South Dakota?
Colorado, I think, maybe. I don't know. Fort Randall Casino. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was North Dakota, wasn't it? Wasn't it on an Indian reservation?
Something like that. Sounds right.
Well, I like the idea of doing some different Prince songs too. Because there's so many to choose from. You really could go a myriad of directions.
Yeah. We got a couple possibilities. We shook it up a few years ago. We did a Darling Nikki. That was fun, but
kind of cool.
It's a hard song to execute.
I bet.
Well, too. That's a hard one, but it was fun. It's a killer for me. I never thought first time I'm really playing like a blast beat would be like on a Prince song.
Oh, but does that make it exciting for you too, though?
Yes, and exhausting, but it's fun. Yes.
Yeah. You could do like When You Were Mine. That would work, and I think most people know it. I don't know. Maybe that's not popular enough. If you're not in Minnesota,
that's slightly deeper. I mean, it's a great song, a little deeper. But I think, we might aim for a little bit higher, like some bigger hits. We got a couple things, there's 1999. I don't want to give it away, like to surprise people, but
I'd like to do Baby You're a Star.
There you go.
That's such a
I
great
want to
tune. Baby, I'm a
die for
Star.
you.
Yeah,
I'd die for you. I just want to do that fill, man.
that would be
We'll
good
work
too.
that. We'll work that
Yeah.
fill in whatever we play. I've got to do it.
Okay, so
We just
so
do
more
both
Prince
back to
coming your
back.
way. More Prince coming your way. Ray Wagner has a question for Billy. As a drummer, I usually dislike drum solos because they tend to amount to hitting a lot of drums really fast with no feel. Your Hairball solo is an exception because it's very melodic and coherent. It's music, not just a demonstration of speed.
Huh?
So the question is, your solo, is your solo a scripted piece that you practice precisely, or more of an idea that you follow in the moment and see where it leads you?
Yeah, more of the latter, I guess. Thanks for those kind words. It's very kind of you. Uh, I think sometimes my solo is all of those things. It's a bunch of bullshit sometimes. You just depends on what night. But that's the uh my drum solo basically is following nothing too specific, but there's a general form that I may try to adhere to. If I into like I'd say any kind of fun drum solo is almost like a fireworks show. You kind of got to arc it and kind of hit them hard, bring them down, suck them back in, and then blow it all up again and do whatever, just being dynamic and whatnot. So thanks for the kind words, and I'm gonna keep practicing my solos
Well, and people are
because
into
and
it
there's
too
gonna
because I look around and see them. They're shaking their fist and they're watching intently. So that's
yeah.
a good reason as to why.
Well, and I get it too, man. I mean, I can be like anyone too. It's like drum solos or any solos or whatever. It's just like it's whatever. He's wanking or whatever that is. There's negative connotations attached to him sometimes by people, and I get it. I'm conscious of that stuff, but it's whatever. It's fun, and I'm glad that you know I'm given that chance to just whatever do what I'm doing. That's a lot of faith in the band and in me to give me that in the show. Like, come on, it's not even what the show's even about. It's about these characters and whatnot. So that they're even featuring me is just, you know, thanks guys, uh and whatever. I'm gonna keep practicing and getting better at it too. It's good. It's good. It's gives me something to keep working on, which at this day and age and my age in drumming, um, I'm glad that I can
Yeah.
even play a drum solo at this age. Cheers.
Well, there's a lot of people who end up retiring earlier on your instrument than a lot of others because they just, like Eric Singer was saying that the every night when they'd have 3 or 4 in a row were killing him. He needs
Aches,
that day off to
yeah,
just, recharge.
aches and
Um,
pains are a real thing nowadays. It just is.
yeah.
It's
Hey,
can't deny it.
There I am.
But yep, here you is.
okay, he's back. Okay.
My
Yeah,
phone rang, and I don't know. So,
I don't know. What do you do? It is what it is. They just can't leave you alone. Uh, Ken Antilla wants to know, this is for Kris. I remember the day that you joined the band. You told me it's a blast and it's like Halloween every show.
yeah.
Does it still feel that way to you?
Oh yeah. It's more of a routine after you've done it for 15 years. But like I said, it's still a great job, and you look out and you see all these people like, oh, these people came to see us. This is crazy, we're not, it's a great job because we're not worried about a catalog. We're not worried about, marketing or new album. We just keep plugging away, doing the same, this show. It's a show. And that's for me it's great. I get to, when I take off the costume, I get to, set it all down and go be me. And most people don't recognize me. It's kind of an anonymity, which is great. So it's a great gig.
Yeah, I mean, it sure is. And I also think it's important for people to understand that you may just have never thought of this, how much preparation goes into the show itself, not only from each individual band member getting your parts and doing your stuff, but collectively as well. And that you don't compare yourself to anybody else. You're just doing your own thing. Correct?
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I as much as I love this band, I try not to let it define me. I mean, I'm not. You gotta always,
Right. It
You
takes
wouldn't.
up a majority of our lives and time
Yes.
wise and everything. It eats up a lot. But yeah, I mean, you develop routines that will enable you to keep going because again, this isn't a thing that it just never stops. It's a train that keeps rolling. It doesn't and so it's not, oh, I got a month off to do this or that or to recuperate. It's week to week. You kind of like you do your weekend, get a little burnt, and you got the week to recharge, and then you go back in for another, and that's that. Summer gets really intense. You gear up for few long stretches that we have during the year. But over time, you get used to that schedule. We have a fairly consistent schedule with similar arcs and all of that. And you just, you know, to Chris's point, we do so. We've done it long enough where, you know,
But Hairball is the gold standard. I mean, they just are. And for anyone that doesn't believe me, go see some of the other bands who all say they're going to be better than Hairball, and you'll see for yourself that the difference between the two are miles apart. You guys aren't saying this. This is me saying it, and the amount of work that goes into this for how inexpensive the tickets are is kind of mind numbing to me, considering how expensive um, some of the acts have become. You couldn't get into ACDC the other night for under $200, and that was a
oh,
nosebleed seat. Now,
oh,
nothing against
uh,
ACDC. They've been around forever. People love them. But, you guys are bringing a whole show. It's not just like you're showing up with jeans and a t-shirt and you're standing in there with some good, a snare drum and some guitars. This is a full stage production, but I don't need to say that, I suppose, because everyone listening is already a fan of yours. But it's just important, at least from my perspective, standing on the outside looking in, watching all of this transpire over the last 20 plus years, the amount of dedication and work and effort that goes into this on the part of the six of you is really extraordinary. It
yeah,
really is. How have things been going now with Patrick, the new member? Is he getting acclimated?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That Pat's great. Um, you know, the newest guy, and with anyone, it's like it takes a little time to kind of get your footing and all that. Anyone new, that's it. They all go through that process. So he's doing it very well and having fun doing it. He's fun on and off the stage, and yeah, very grateful that he's with us.
Yeah, I think he's a wonderful addition. So all of you that are going to see Hairball this summer will get the opportunity to see Patrick perform with the band. He is now the newest member. So make sure you look out for that. And there was someone who asked too about Van Halen, if you'll be doing Van Halen again. And I can say, after talking with Happy, he said, yeah, it's a
Yep.
it's a maturation process. So you guys have to work things and put things together. And in some cases, when one singer leaves and another one comes in, you kind of have to rebuild what you're doing. Is that correct?
Pretty much, you just try and play to everyone's strengths, and sometimes it takes a little time to find those strengths, find what works for now, and it's ultimately always every night is what's going to put on our best show this night, and
Right.
and so there, and with learning stuff, he lives in LA, so it makes it harder. Like he can't just pop over on a moment's notice and like do whatever. So we have limitations on the rate of speed at which that we can get things show ready, and uh one step at a time with all that stuff. Picking the songs is where it starts, and we have a lot of things that we would like to do. The real world kind of makes it a little slower than we'd even like it to be, but it just is what it is. The thing is, ultimately, we're always going to have a good show. We just want to all It's always going to slowly morph, over time, like it does.
But that's one of the things I love about this format is that you guys get to come on and explain this to the fans, because let's face it, if you are just a fan of music and go to a ton of concerts like me and you don't know the inner workings of a rock band and you're not a musician, sometimes it's hard to conceive of all that goes into it. And I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier about the amount of dedication and work that all of you put in. It's not just like you show up one day and you add it. There's preparation. You have to learn the songs. Like you said, it starts there and you work your way forward from that point. So to your point, you guys are doing all you can and you will be continuing to elevate and stretch everything.
You know, I got to just say that for all the work we do, our crew still, they physically work 10 times harder than us.
Yeah.
They bust their ass.
He beat me to it, but it even just to the point of, it's not just even what the band can do and get ready for stuff. The cruise is such an extension of that.
Yeah.
Of getting that stuff ready and having the production's got to be right. The songs have to be wrapped in the production in the right way too. So it's the talent on the stage is one end of things, but like all that rest of that stuff really comes
it doesn't
into play.
happen
So
without the crew.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh God.
Without the semi and the bus and all the moving parts, we're just, you know, I won't say it boring, but we're just kind of boil it down to a cover band without the show. I mean, we're just the production is really, I mean, that's what catches your eye. That's what makes these characters more convincing when you hear me sing it, but you're also seeing it. Your brain does something where now I hear Prince even more when I'm looking at this guy in a costume with all this, you know what I mean? It's just
oh yeah.
You know, all your senses get lit up. So the crew is huge. You can't do it without the crew.
Yeah, and they work their butts off, like you said, and it's so funny. I remember, I think it was a show last summer we were at. It was an outdoor show, not that matters. These two girls were hitting on Bryant, but they didn't know his name. So like, we want to talk to the keyboard player because he was on the side of the stage, right as the pyro.
Bryant should be wearing like a kimono when he's doing his stuff.
Yes,
like, all the time. Right?
Maybe you should put that into the writer from this point forward.
Looks like Rick Wakeman over there.
Yep.
Doing his thing.
Exactly. All right. So we got time for one more question because I know you guys are busy. You got to get ready to go here again. This one is going to put both of you on the hot seat just ever so slightly, but I think it's an important question to ask. Linda Brower wants to know, definitely not suggesting a change to the current lineup, but would you ever consider adding a female vocalist to pay tribute to all the badass lady rockers?
All right.
It sounds like it hasn't been thought of. And I think it was just, I don't know. It's just tough mixing in. I mean, we do have a couple women on the bus now, which is something we've never done until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
short answer is
taboo now as it would have been a few years ago before we ever had any women on the bus. But
anything's possible.
We're co-ed now. We're co-ed.
There's actual logistical things that would have to be in place for that to happen. It'd be a big change. But again, those aren't like excuses for things to not happen or whatnot. Anything could happen. Who knows what could happen down the road? But you know, you could. It's just there's a limit. There's always the same ones that you fall back on as far as what can an artist do. Can you get one female in to do? There's a lot of questions. It opens up a lot of things as far as what our format is and how it fits in our format. So,
and what do you get rid of that we're doing that by men? You know, that's
the logic.
It's a juggle. Do you give up, Guns N' Roses for Pat Benatar? How do you figure that?
The show is very full.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I think that these types of setups are running so perfectly that if you change the element, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a female singer. But if it's no different than if you added a fourth guy in.
Yep,
you're
exactly.
Still getting rid of some other things. So I understand where she's coming from with the question.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's a very valid question, but it just seems like it'd be like taking KFC and changing the 11 herbs and spices. It works so well right now.
Yeah. It's purely logistics. I would love to jam out some Benatar.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I would love it. Man, there's just great
so many good songs.
Female-led songs. There's great songs. I would love to play. It's just it's deeper than just a choice of going, hey, we want to include for the sake of including or anything like that or whatever that is. But it's like, man, it would be awesome. But right now we're kind of just like our semi is full. We kind of capped what we can do with what we have right now. It is what it is. It's a traveling. It's So,
So you don't
it'd be a
have
big thing.
you don't have additional room for another 80 pair of shoes and godless.
We don't have any room. Yeah,
this.
we don't have room for
We are stacked. We're stacking
Yes.
bodies in that bus.
exactly
Well, guys, this
bodies
has
and
been great.
pizzas.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I wish you nothing but great success this summer. For all of you that, if you don't know, because you're living under a rock, you can go to hairballonline.com and you will see all of the tour dates for upcoming to see if they're coming to your town or somewhere close to you. I highly recommend that you buy the meet and greet package. I'm not trying to sell you on something, but if you want to meet the guys and get some autographs and get a photo, they do a wonderful meet and greet. So please, give that a shot. You won't regret it. Lots of great things. There's new merch coming. So lots of fun stuff happening this year from what I understand.
Yeah.
I keep hearing fun stuff, new places. Yeah, absolutely.
Big summer. I've got a couple acoustic shows too. If you want to come and sing
Yeah,
some
please.
songs with me.
Yeah, the first one is on the 26th of May at Lord Fletcher's off of Lake Minnetonka.
One Fletcher's gig this year, and I think I got one in St. Cloud or something, or in I got just a couple, just a hand, one or two this summer. I'm trying to keep it limited.
So you
Sauk
can find
Rapids.
out and do that too, and support them in whatever they're doing. Okay, guys, we'll have a super week. Happy Easter, happy Passover to everyone, and we will be back with another episode sometime in the next couple of weeks when they can get their act together.
All right, I'm going to
Thanks,
walk my
Tommy.
dogs.
There you go. Thanks,
You guys have a great day. Thanks.